All right. Thank you for coming back and welcome to part 4 of my deck collection walkthrough series. In part 1, we went through the RWS. Part 2, we went through the RWS based decks. Part 3, we went through the Marseille collection that I have. And today we are going to do Thoth based decks. The Thoth deck itself, and then all of my Thoth based decks. I also have a single deck that is genuine Egyptian style tarot, and then a deck that is what's known as a Continental Esoteric system. So I'll probably be showing both of those today because both of them are sort of related to Thoth. So just to go ahead and start out again, my name is Alex, and this is the Lazy Genius Tarot and Bazaar. Again, I'd like to welcome you back to the series here. And we are going to start today with the Thoth deck. This is an older version. I believe it is a 99 printing. The oldest copyright on the box itself is 1983. Oldest copyright in the book on this one is 87. But then the card copyright is 96. So I think that this one was like somewhere around in 1999 printing. If anybody out there knows how to date Thoth decks and can help me get a more accurate date on that, I'd appreciate it. This particular version, as you saw on the box, does include all 3 versions of the Magus card. So you've got 1, 2, and 3. And we will just do a quick walkthrough. We won't go through all of the cards, like I said, because I will do a full walkthrough of the deck. Yeah, that is the Thoth deck. Everybody knows it. I got the normal size cards, not the big ones with the gray borders. If I can find a greeny rather, in this size, I would definitely like to grab one of those. But for now, this is good as far as having an actual Thoth deck is concerned. When I get to the point where I'm reading Thoth, then this will be the best one to have on hand. So that's a good one. And then basically everything else from here on out is going to, of course, be Thoth based. We will go ahead and start with this weird little deck. It's actually one of my favorite tower cards. It's a Walter Wegmuller. I think that's how you pronounce that. Walter Wegmuller. It's the New Age Tarot. This is from, I want to say 86, 82. I bought it with the handwriting here, but the card has been copywritten for 1982. And I'm not sure if that's like a Walter Wegmuller signature, but it says Walter Wegmuller, and then the Newsite Tarot, I think that's how you pronounce that, and then the New Age Tarot is written under that. So I'm not sure if that's what that is, or I don't know. And then the copyright in the book is 1982, so this is the 1982 Walter Wegmuller New Age Tarot. He's got another deck that I'm currently on the hunt for. Starts with a Z. It's hard to pronounce. It's got the same style of art, though. The card layouts are pretty much the same, so I'd like to add that one to the collection, too. As you'll see as we go through this, I kind of have a penchant for vintage-based Thoth decks. A lot of these old school 80s, 70s, and early 90s decks from the, that are based on the Thoth system are just super cool. I really like that art style, and the card stock on all of them old classic decks is really good. See, it's got a nice amount of resiliency. There is the card back for this deck. Next up, we have the Tarot of the Spirit. And this is the vintage edition. From the first edition there. Copyright in the book says 1992. I also have the book that goes with it from 92 as well. Again, this one's not in order because I have been thumbing through it and shuffling it, and I really like this deck. Been trying to get to know the cards before I even really dive into the system that way, and I do this with a lot of my decks. But that way I can learn the cards as well as I'm learning to read more and more. So I've gotten to the point now where I'm almost out of the book for RWS. As soon as I get myself out of the RWS books, at least 90% out of the book, then I will move on to Marseille. And then from Marseille, I will move on to the Thoth-based deck, because each one of these decks is its own journey, right? So the book for this is thick. You watch. This is not a small book. There's the deck for comparison. It barely fits in the frame standing up like this. But, this deck is its own journey. But it's Thoth-based. And from what I've noticed, a lot of the Thoth-based books or Thoth-based decks are like that. So that's this guy. Next is the Magical Tarot by Anthony Clark. This is the 1986 first edition. I'm looking for the book for this deck. I need the book for this pretty bad. But this is another really dope Thoth-based deck. This one is in order now because I have reordered it after playing with it a bunch. It's a really cool deck. I'll show you a couple of the pips. So all of the pips have the same symbol up top, right? But then it's the little mini scene underneath of it that shows sort of the definition. And it's like that all the way through the pips. And then you have the quartz. And as you can tell in the corner there, the quartz are going to be element based. You can see the 4 elements right there and the 4 quartz. They've got all of the associations in there. As you can see, swords are air, so you have the element for air, and then each one of the quartz has their own individual element. So it's got all of the normal symbology that you would expect, but then there's so much more packed into these cards as well. Definitely want to get the full book for this, but that might be a hard one to find because even the second edition is out of print, and the book itself goes for almost $200. So I'm trying to find a cheap copy of that one. Hopefully I don't have to pay $200 for the book for it, but I did pay a pretty nice amount for the deck. Let's see here. My next Thoth-based deck is going to be the Anima Mundi, or Tabula Mundi. I apologize. I was thinking about the Anima Mundi. I'm still debating if I want to buy that deck or not. But this Tabula Mundi here is one of the limited editions that were done. Under the ribbon here, I keep the band that came on it with its original number in the series, which was 190. And the identifier card in the bottom, which is hand signed by M.M. Moline, to note that it is the Coloris Arcus version of the card, and it is deck number 190. And the Coloris Arcus, I think is how you pronounce that, is the holographic backs. So let me see if I can make it do it. I don't know if you can see the little shimmers and the black part of the backs there, but it's got like this holographic overlay on top of all of the black. Super cool backs. And then this one also has a super thick book, so it's going to be its whole own journey. This one's still in order. I don't really want to mess with it too much until I'm actually reading the Thoth-based systems. As you notice, the corners here are a little banged up from shipping. The corners right there got a little banged up, but other than that, it's in perfect condition. I love this deck. It's got the ribbon bound book. I will do a full walkthrough of this deck later on too. I really like that deck. And then my next Thoth-based deck is, this is going to be the Iris Sacra Arcana. Arcana Iris Sacra. There we go. When I bought the deck, I also bought the silk cloth for it. So the silk cloth actually has the snake on it. Let's see if I can. It's huge. It's a super big cloth. But it's got the snake, and the snake is actually on the cards as well. So I will show you the snake image. It's on the center there. But the knocked over one of my crystals. So the cloth itself is, like I said, it's super big, but it's silk, and it's got the constellations around, and then it's got the moon cycles, and then up here it's got in the center the snake that appears on the cards, and then it's got the actual constellations star patterns on the outside edge of it. This is by Labyrinthos. They also have a super cool app that goes along with a lot of their decks. It's not actually a little white book. It's more of a fold out. So they've got a couple of spreads and shortened meanings for all the cards there. The gold gilding on these cards is amazing. It's another one of those gold gilded decks that is never stuck. It's never clumped or bunched, and much like with the Madame Clara's Fate, Destiny, and Fortune that I went through in my Rider-Waite-Smith base deck video, and I will do a full walkthrough of it later, but just like that one, the gold gilding on these, while it may flake when you riffle shuffle, I've been riffle shuffling this deck a lot, and it has never flaken. It's never flaked. 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 It's never the gold edging or gilding there seems to be holding up rather well. See if I can get that right. Got caught on this riff there. There we go. It riffle shuffles real nice, and then as you can see, the gilding is still holding up really well. Minimal flaking. It's a great deck. Now, on this deck, this is another one of those examples of cards that I have that are borderless that I actually like. The pips in this one are all bordered. They all have their keyword at the top and the number and suit at the bottom. And then the majors are all borderless cards. It's a really dope deck. See if I can find some more of the majors. There's this snake that's on the cloth. The snake actually appears multiple times throughout this deck. Here's the Fool. This is a dope Fool card. I'm looking for the, there it is. That is the image that's on the center of the cloth. The snake. It's the same snake as what's over here. Super cool deck. Like I said, all of the majors are borderless and the minors are bordered. Super cool deck. And then the box on it is the box that I don't really want to like ruin it or nothing, you know what I mean? Because it's one of the ones that ties on the side with the ribbon, much like their Lenormand deck, which I also have. I'll show you the box. So their Lenormand deck is the same box as the Thoth deck, but it's hard to tie it because when you tie it, the little piece of backing paper or whatever right here that holds that ribbon down, when you tie it, in order to keep it tied all the way tight shut so that none of the cards come out, that piece of paper ends up lifting up off of the cardboard that's used for the top. It is very sturdy. The other box is the same quality, but I don't want to ruin the box or anything, and I like the cloth, so I wanted to keep it in the cloth and bag like I do the Radiant Rider Weight. This is the bag that I found for it. I figure it matches pretty well. And that is my Arcana Iris Sacra, or Arcana Sacra, or yeah, Iris Sacra Arcana from Labyrinthos. I always butcher the name for this deck. And then I just wrap it up in the cloth up there. Stuff it back in the bag. All right. And then that is it for my Thoth-based decks, I do believe. Yep. And then next, I have the Ibis Tarot. This is the deck that I was telling you I was going to show you that follows the Continental Esoteric system. This is the same system used by the Nap Hall deck. If you know anything about the Nap Hall deck, that actually follows the same system as this one through the pips with the squares and triangles. I'll show you a little bit more here in a second, but here's a couple of the majors. And again, this does follow the Continental Esoteric system, which upon first glance it would seem Thoth based, but it actually predates the Thoth deck, and you can see some of the influence for the Thoth deck in these cards. I showed you the pence already. Here's the swords, just to give you an idea of what the system looks like. The cups and the wands also follow that same. I will do a full walkthrough of the deck later, like I said. But this is a deck from, it says 1991 in the book, and the copyright on the cards. I know that this deck is rare. I've been told online that it's a very hard to find deck, and that to get a copy where the cards are in this good of a condition. There's the card backs also, but the cards are almost in like a pristine, perfect condition. It doesn't even really look like they've been played with much until I got my hands on them. The only thing is there's a coffee ring on the book, but if you notice, it doesn't interfere with the text at all. So I've been told I got a really good copy of this deck. I'm pretty happy to have it, and actually this deck was gifted to me by a recent tarot friend that I have made because of the community here. I am working on the beginning stages of designing a deck, and I reached out to a deck creator for one of the newer decks that's out that I really like, and I've actually received this as a gift from her. So next up is the Egyptian tarot system deck that I have. This is the only Egyptian system deck that I have. It's the Ramses Tarot. The copyright information is 2003, Los Scarabeo. And it tells you in here in the presentation of the book, the presentation portion, which is written by Giordano Berti. So I think this is actually a Berti deck. But there's the backs. There's a lot of titties in this deck, so there's gonna be nudity. And it's like all the way through the deck, so I won't do a full flip through of this now, just because I know that there's some people out there that don't like nudity in their decks. So I will put a big disclaimer on the walkthrough video for that one as well, just in case. And that is going to wrap up the Thoth-based decks in my collection, as well as the Continental Esoteric and Egyptian deck system decks that I've got there. Here they are all again. I want to thank you guys for joining me on part 4 of my deck collection series. Definitely appreciate you guys being here. If you like the video, let me know in the comments, hit subscribe, all that good fun stuff. Either way, I just want to thank you for coming. In part 5, we will be going over decks that I have that kind of follow their own systems. And then after that, we will do Lenormand. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for coming, and stick around for the next one, and I appreciate you. Thanks for coming along.